Okay, this is how to make the nettle tincture step 4. 6 weeks ago, we put our dried harvested nettle into jars, and we covered them with vodka and let them to sit. We're shaking them every couple days to get it all mixed up and agitated a bit. I did originally have 2 jars. I processed the 1 jar with a video, and the video failed. So this is take 2. This has been sitting for 6 weeks, so it's definitely ready. We have completely consumed the original nettle out of the first jar. So when you get ready to process your nettle, you need to make sure you have all your supplies ready. I have my nettle and my tincture all here. I use a 4-cup measuring cup when I have a small jar. If I have a larger jar, I use a larger bowl. I have a strainer that fits perfectly here on my measuring cup. See, it's not too big, not too small. It makes a nice fit. And I have some cheesecloth. I have it doubled. This particular one, it's got some larger holes in it, and I just double it. And then you have your container that you're going to put your nettle in, and it's very, very important, no matter how much you think you're going to remember, no matter how much you think it doesn't matter, to label your jar, your bottle, your container, whatever. Tell yourself what it is and the date. This was the date of the other video that failed a month ago. So when I'm done with this, I'll cross out last month's date and write this month's date here. The reason it's important to label is suddenly in your refrigerator you will have 2 jars and you won't remember which is which. Or you won't remember exactly when you processed it. Or someone will come visit your home and not know what this is, and it's just not worth it. It's always better to label your herbs and your tinctures and anything that you make. Always label it. You'd be surprised how easy it is to forget and then be frustrated because you're not sure what it is. So, on to the tincture making. This is the easiest part of the whole process. Now a lot of liquid is going to come out first. So be careful when you pour, and be careful with your countertop, your surface. This green will leave a nice, lovely green mark on your countertop. See, I've got a Formica countertop, and it's going to leave some green marks, but it's not going to stain. It'll come up, you know, if I wipe it down. So I drain as much of the the liquid out as I can before I start with the leaf matter in there, just because it makes for a nicer, it doesn't splash as much when you shake it all out. Now I'm going to need to get a spoon to pull this all out, or a fork. So we'll put this in here. And don't fill up your container here too much, your cheesecloth too much in the beginning. You want to make sure that your cheesecloth can wrap all the way around it, because what you're going to do here is cover your contents, and then you're going to squeeze it. And if you don't have enough cheesecloth to wrap around the top, it gets really messy and takes all the fun out of this process. So then you just squeeze all that liquid out. And this is the green gold in the way of allergies. If you can tell, I'm sniffling a little bit. This is what has prompted me to get a move on in processing this second jar, is we are both sniffling and not liking it. So as a reminder, we use this primarily for our allergies. My husband has much more significant allergies than I do. I just have a mild hay fever, but his allergies are quite significant. So this is about the stage where I don't want to get too much more full, because the bottom of my strainer is below the surface level of the nettle tincture that I'm processing here. And so I will fill my jar. Normally I recommend using a brand new clean jar, but I'm just refilling the jar that I was using before. So there's one. And I will grab my second jar, which is the same size, it's just the dark glass. Now, how long these can stay in the fridge kind of depends on who you talk to. Some say you can keep it in the fridge up to 3 months. Some say 6 months. We've kept some in the fridge when I've done very large batches for 9 months, not quite a year, and it's worked fine. I don't know how it would go bad, but at the same time, it's probably better to just make smaller batches and use them as you need them. When you want them in the spring, though, before the nettle is really popped and there's not anything to harvest, or you're harvesting at the time when you really wish you had it, that's when it's best to have some dried nettle on hand. Dry some at the peak of the season, set some aside so that you can make it into a tincture right about the time you need it. And then remember, it's going to need to sit for a few weeks before you process it. So if your allergies generally begin to bother you, let's say in June, then you would want to start soaking it probably late April, early May, and just be prepared. So I'm not going to finish the rest of this just to keep the video shorter. This nettle in here, there's probably still some liquid in here. I squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until it's as dry as I can possibly get it. But when you're done with it, you can just throw it in the compost if you have a compost pile. It's just leaf matter and vodka. The vodka is not going to damage anything that I know of. I wouldn't feed it to any of your animals. I would just throw it in the compost, or if you don't have a compost, just go ahead and throw it in your trash. It may still have a use. I just don't know of any other uses. So stinging nettle it works as an anti-inflammatory. The way it works with allergies is your sniffling, your watery eyes, your runny nose, all these things are inflammation responses. And if you take a little bit of the nettle, we start off with a tablespoon. If you take a tablespoon of nettle in the evening, or whenever your allergies are bothering you, once or twice a day. My husband will work up to 2 tablespoons twice a day, which we have this nifty little measuring container that it's not here right now. I think it's in the dishwasher. It's a shot glass, but it has measurements on it. And you can see how much you're taking with this little measuring cup. This I found at Bed Bath & Beyond. There, maybe you can see it. It's a mini measure. And it's got your tablespoons, your teaspoons, it's got ounces, it's got milliliters. So this is a nifty little cup. So we'll use this to measure out a tablespoon, which is this much. And then that's where I start when I'm taking this nettle tincture for allergy purposes. So enjoy your nettle tincture. When you take your first swig of this, remember that our family and friends call it green fire, and enjoy to your health.